here's what I want to ask you now. One of the things that personally concerns me the most is what you just said, which is the complacency that it is breeding in the vast amount of people that somebody else will take care of them. And that's not only bred within people that are getting unemployment and making more money than before and stimulus checks and they're in anticipation of this lasting for forever, but it's also the top 0.5% that know no matter how bad of mistakes they make, if they're in the right industry, somebody else is going to finance their mistakes anyways. But what I'm more concerned for is the average person, right? And and my concern is that, I mean, I guess maybe they think that universal basic income will come about from this shortly hereafter. But what happens to the people that are to so many of us that are relying on somebody else to take care of us? How do we break out of that complacency? And what's the problem with that? Coming from Iran, seeing what happened in the revolution out there, you are the epitome of someone who has used entrepreneurship to practice real spiritual, mental, and emotional freedom for yourself, for your friends, for your family. And that's what capitalism and entrepreneurship has done for you. Yet I see so many people that are not prepared at all. What happens if the money goes away? What do they even do if this money everyone's getting is gone?
So let's talk about that. Let's say somebody says, Pat, if they pay me $2,000 a month, man, I can stay home and live a regular life. I would be totally fine. Fine. Let's talk about that. Let's dissect that. Let's unpack that. How many people do you think have seen the movie Gladiator, where Marcus Aurelius, in that last scene, he seeks redemption against the enemy that took his wife, his son, the Emperor Marcus Aurelius away from him? How many people, when Maximus at the end gets up there and seeks redemption against the new emperor, how many people watch that and get the chills all over their body? How many people watch sports and they love it when the underdog comes back and wins? How many people watched the movie when the Red Sox came back and they beat the Yankees in that one series and then won the World Series, and they said no one was going to win because since Babe Ruth and the trade they made and, you know, the big curse that the Red Sox have? How many people got emotional? How many people get emotional when they see a movie of Morgan Freeman, you know, Lean on Me, and he goes to the school and as a principal changes the game by raising the standard, and somebody watches this movie and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this. How many people watch Top Gun with Tom Cruise and they say, look at these guys and how competitive they are and the kind of impact they're making, and they're working as a team and going out there, and oh man, I love watching this movie. How many people watch these kinds of movies? How many people watch Braveheart and get emotional with the soundtrack? How many people watch any of these movies? Even a movie like a John Q, when you see the father telling the kid, hey son, my son's gonna bury me. I'm not gonna bury my son. And son, when you get a chance to make money, make your money. Go make your money. In the movie John Q, how many movies like that? How many people watch them and at the end they go like this? No feelings. How many people watch the movie and at the end they're trying to wipe their tears without anybody seeing it? And for a couple hours, they think they're Maximus. For a couple hours, they think they're Top Gun, Maverick. For a couple hours, they think they're Rocky, underdog, goes and beats the enemy. For a couple hours, we feel like that. Why do movies like that move us? Here's why. Because deep down inside, none of us were put on this planet to be average and ordinary. None of us. A group of people convinced us of it, and we bought it. And it was for sale. Because everyone buys it. A few people don't buy stuff that's for sale. A few people want to pay full price. A few people sit there and say, this message is convincing of $2,000 a month. But what does $2,000 a month really mean for me? It means I'm stealing away you ever finding out what your capacity looks like. You really okay with that? I read a book a long time ago about this guy that goes to heaven, and he's talking to St. Peter. And he says, hey man, I got a question for you. He says, what's that? Whatever happened to the greatest general of all time? I'm just curious. Who was really the greatest general we ever had in the military? He says, you really want to ask that question for me? He says, yeah, who was it? Was it Patton? Was it Napoleon? Was it Alexander? Who was it? He says, what a dumb question you're asking. He says, why am I asking a dumb question? He says the greatest general in the army was supposed to be you. But every time it came down to you making a decision, you took the easy way out. If you would have gone in the military and given your best, the history books would have written about you as being the greatest general of all time. But you messed up. See, that to me is painful right here. Why? Imagine you can watch a movie and technology comes out where you take your blood and you put it in this nice little container and the computer does its own things and says, what kind of potential does this person have here based on their DNA? And they look at it like, oh, this person has everything it takes to one day be the president of the United States. This person's got everything it takes to run a $3 billion company one day. This person's got everything it takes to be one of the best generals of all time, journalists of all time. This person's got everything it takes to one day raise a great family, be an incredible mother, and give birth to a man that's going to be a president and change the history books forever. That's how capable you are. You're willing to sacrifice that for $2,000 a month? I'm not okay with that. And I know people watching this are not okay with that as well. So be very careful what messages you choose to buy. Just because a politician is a great communicator doesn't mean their ideas should be bought. Just because a senator, a congressman gets up and they share their ideas with you, and you say, yes, I love her energy. She sounds so enthusiastic. I'm amazed by this woman here. It doesn't mean you need to buy. There are a lot of great salespeople out there. Be very careful what things you buy, because sometimes buying is not about me buying a car from a used car salesman, or me buying a suit, or me buying a watch, or me buying a shoe. Sometimes the scariest things to buy are bad ideas. When somebody buys a bad idea, oh my God, a bad idea can ruin your life for decades. Let me say this again. A bad idea can steal decades away from your life. I go to funerals, cemeteries all the time. When I was studying for my Series 7, I studied right next to my grandmother's plot. When she passed away, my dad is in love with his mom, and I admired how much he loved his mom. I would sit next to her plot, and I had my car at that time, the Ford chair that they would have, and I would study my Series 7 right next to her plot for hours. And I would walk around during my breaks, and I would go look at last names. Yeah, I don't know that last name. Don't know that last name. Born in 1939, died in 1991. Okay. Born in 1928, died in 2001. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. I wonder if this person maxed out their lives. Huh. You think she maxed out her lives? You think he one time maybe gave up on a dream, and because it was an easier decision out there to give up on it, and maybe he regretted it? How come I don't know these names? Oh, wow, I remember this name. Look at this. I know who this person is. That's crazy. That's his plot. Wow. What is the difference between this guy and the other 200 people here? What is it? There came a time where one of them bought the wrong idea and one of them bought the right idea. And the rest is history. You got to be careful what ideas you buy today. The wrong one can ruin your life.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So you actually did that. You actually went to the grave, and that's how you studied.
That's where I studied for my Series 7.